Hello, and welcome to Health and Fitness Redefined. I'm your host, Anthony Amen. Join me today as we take a dive into the world of health and fitness, where we learn how to overcome adversity, depict fact versus fiction, and see health and fitness in a whole new light. Guys, like I said before every show, make sure you go check out our Patreon account if you're a personal trainer, a gym owner, somebody who's looking to take it to the next level and work with me. I'm happy to help you guys out and get you going. Before we introduce this guest, little personal life update, just because I know my amazing fiance is going to be listening to this show. But once this episode airs, we will officially be married, coming back from Aruba. So super excited to announce that we are finally getting married and excited to move forward in the next step of our lives. So thank you guys for being a part of it. Really appreciate it. But without further ado, let's welcome to the show, Matt Ode. Matt, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on today.
Thanks, Anthony. Congratulations, man. I didn't even know that. So that's incredible, brother. Great news. I'm also engaged. So two engaged people here. So it's great.
There you go. When's the wedding?
September 24th. So I got a little bit of time.
Yeah, you got some. We've planned it 2 years out, and I just can't believe it's like
here. All the crazy planning and I'm sure just enjoy the day. So that's all I could say.
I'm sure you can attest. I've been rescheduling all my podcasts and saying, can you move up there, move up here? Because I'm just trying to get ready for the wedding.
Yeah, you don't realize until the wedding starts planning how much there's really involved in it. So, it's great though. Congratulations, brother.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. But I want to learn a little bit about you. I had a chance to look up a little bit of your backstory, someone who's actually a cancer survivor and a pretty amazing journey, if I say so myself. We were talking how you started off before even all of that. You were a trainer, which is amazing because that's obviously what we do, and we love doing it and love helping people. So, Matt, just take us back into kind of where that health and fitness journey started.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as a kid, my dad was like always putting me into sports. You go through the whole routine. You're in football, you're in baseball, you're in basketball. In high school, I actually transitioned from all of that and started running cross country, started running track. And then in college, my freshman year, I actually was running cross country and track as well. I was running D2, and then eventually it just got a little too much. I mean, I was running close to 90 to 100 mile weeks. I was like, all right, I first didn't want to look like I was 130 pounds anymore. I loved like the lifting aspect of it. So I would literally go run like a 15 to 20 mile like day. And then I'd go to the gym and lift for like an hour there and just absolutely destroy my body. My coach would hate it. So, I kind of transitioned completely into lifting and doing partial cardio on the side. But that's what really, really got me into the health journey, because, I mean, for me, once I started lifting, then I started to concentrate on nutrition. I started concentrating on hydration, started concentrating on sleep, started concentrating on all of the aspects of overall health, and that's where I think I got into that space. And I actually went to college for a business degree, not actually like a lot of people go through some type of, I don't know what the degree is to, become like a trainer or in the health industry.
Exercise science or something in that nature.
Exactly. I actually went through for business management, but coming out of it, I knew right away that I wanted to be in a health field in some way. And lucky enough, my uncle, who runs an incredible company, he allowed me to not only be a personal trainer for all of the employees at the company, he also allowed me to be a wellness director as well, which basically I am a director for about 300 to 400 employees, where we create a healthy atmosphere. We do what's called corporate challenges, meaning we help people create a healthy lifestyle. We do monthly wellness events where we bring on nutritionists, other mental health mindset experts, things like that, and really just created the company into like a Google-like atmosphere. So that's what really got me into the health and fitness industry, and I've stuck with it ever since.
It's so cool that you'd finally like meet some people that are starting to incorporate that corporate wellness aspect, because it's so underrated, and somebody that doesn't sit there and kind of crunch the numbers and really look at how important it plays a role in not only showing your employees that you care about them, but if you're a money person, showing how much money your business can save by investing into a trainer, and just overall just making a better environment for the employees and the clients and everything all together. It was some crazy number, and I don't want anyone to sit here and be like, that's not the exact amount, but it's somewhere in the millions of extra dollars we spend in gas alone from our obesity epidemic. Not hundreds, millions in just the gas, as opposed to the sick days and the productivity they put in there and the happiness. And what about, as an employee standpoint, like not being able to enjoy their retirement? Most people work to their 65, even pushing that to 70. If you don't take care of yourself, you're going to pass before you can even enjoy that money. And even if you don't, you're going to be absolutely miserable and not be able to enjoy it because there's so many things wrong with you down the line. So it's something to really think about if you're listening and you own a business, to really put that all into perspective. So I definitely like that journey of it. And it's funny how you got into business management. Great thing. So what happened after that? Like when did you figure out like, oh no, something's wrong with me?
Yeah, absolutely. So, so I was about 3 years into, my job, and, like you were saying, as a wellness director, I mean, it helps with productivity, it helps with sick days, it helps with so much more things. It's a lot more than just like creating a healthy atmosphere. But for me, about 3 years in, I was actually probably the healthiest and the most fit I've ever been in my life. I was counting my macronutrients at the time. I was working out 6 to 7 days a week, all of these things. And I had actually just started dating my now fiance, and we were doing all these summer activities together. We were going hiking, we were going kayaking, all these things. And all of a sudden I started to notice these minor back pains. I was 24 years old at the time. And, at 24, shoot, in your 20s in general, anything that happens, you think, I'll just overcome it. I'll be absolutely fine. And, you think you're invincible at that age. So I just let it go, and I kept letting it go. And the back pain just kept gradually getting worse and worse and worse. And actually one night, about 2 months later, I ended up waking up one night, puking up blood. Got rushed to the emergency room. They did a blood test on me, found out I was losing about 2/3 of the blood circulating in my body, which is equivalent to being shot with a gun. They immediately gave me 6 bags of blood, put me into an emergency surgery because they thought it was an ulcer that was causing the bleeding. I wake up the next morning, and as I woke up, about an hour later, my doctor walks in, comes up to me, and he just has this blank stare in his eyes. And I knew something was way more than just an ulcer. So he comes over to me. He sits down, he grabs my hand, and he goes, Matt, we have found an 11-centimeter tumor in your small intestine. We know it is cancerous. We don't know what type yet, and we have to rush you to the main campus of the Cleveland Clinic immediately. So I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and I was at a local hospital at the time, and they brought me to the clinic, which is thank goodness, one of the top hospitals in the world. So as I got there, they did a bunch of blood tests on me, did a bunch of different tests, and that's where they found out I had the highest stage of testicular cancer. Now, rewind just a little bit. Being diagnosed was an extremely mentally and emotionally draining journey for sure. It was just at the time, just me and my parents. Lauren, who's my fiance, did not know this yet. None of my friends knew this. It was just my parents at the time. And for me, when I received the news, I felt like, and I think a lot of men can attest to this, is I had to be strong and I had to hold in all my emotions, because if I were to share vulnerable parts of my life, or if I would to share these emotions, it would be a sign of weakness almost, which is totally the opposite of what you should be doing. But I'm just saying this as like how I felt in the moment. And, as the days went by, as they did the test, as people started hearing the news, Lauren eventually arrived, and I was afraid because I didn't know if she still wanted to be with me or not. It was a lot to put on her. We were only dating for 2.5 months. So
Oh my
finally,
God.
yeah, when we kind of saw each other, we both just kind of broke down, and I knew that this was going to be a journey where I had a lot of support and I could finally let go of my emotions. And for me, I guess this would be a big piece of advice, especially to men. Women are a lot better than this than us, is don't be afraid to ask for help with people you know, like, and trust in any area of your life, whether it is your fitness, whether it is your mindset, whether it is a health issue that you're going through, because you cannot fight these battles alone. You need to ask for help in certain areas when you feel down and when you feel like you just have no answer of where to go next.
Yeah, that's got to be, I don't even know how to put it into words. Like, you just figure out, like, at that moment when you get the news, it's just, oh shit. I don't know a way to describe it. And we've talked about adversity a lot on this show. It seems to be like the commonality of how health and fitness has really played a predominant role in people's lives. And the news of it happening and kind of figuring out, I liked what you said. You feel like you need to tough it out and not give up, but then you have to rely on support. And it's not necessarily what I'm used to hearing, I'll be honest. So I love how it's different. So I'll give you an example and a little reminder to, like, the audience. When I heard my news, it was, wow, I have to do this on my own because literally nobody else can help me.
Yeah. So you have two options of asking for help. It's either family members, where there's certain things they could help me through on an emotional state and things like that. But there was other things where I was like, listen, they didn't go through cancer. They don't know my actual journey. So I had to ask for help from somebody who has gone through a similar situation as me, because there were times where, I promise you feel like you're just alone. You feel like there's nobody there that understands me, that you're alone in this journey, and that it's like I'm fighting these battles alone. But then when you start to open up a little bit, you will realize that there are other people who have fought a similar battle as you, whether it's a weight loss journey, whether it is going through cancer, whether it is whatever journey you're on. There are other people who have gone through it and are willing to help you. And what happened, I was very lucky here that the clinic had what's called a Fourth Angels mentorship program, meaning they will help connect you with other survivors who've had a similar cancer and similar diagnosis. So for me, it wasn't just testicular cancer. It was my stage of testicular cancer that this person had overcome as well. I got connected with him. And when I was going through chemotherapy and I was like, I feel like absolute shit, I can't even get up today, blah, 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 this, he was like, I know exactly how you feel. I was like pretty much in the same state not too long ago, but here's what I did to help myself kind of push myself forward. And not only did it give me the ideas, but it gave me the courage. It gave me the strength that I'm not alone. I can overcome this and I can persevere today. So what I'm trying to tell you is, yes, you are in the very beginning. Yes, there are going to be parts where you have to just take action and embrace what's called the unknown, because there's a lot of times where there's this area of life where you have no idea where you're going, but you have to take a step forward anyways. But there's also a certain point in time where if you just continue to hold in everything that you're facing, that is where a lot of your anxiety, a lot of your depression, a lot of your mental health struggles come into play, because you can't release what you're actually feeling.
Yeah, I think having a mentorship, whether it's with someone from like you with a similar situation, or just having someone you can just vent to, goes a long way for mental health. And that's what it really came down to. I had a support group maybe that didn't understand what I was going through, but I was able to be like, well, this stinks. I need to figure it out. And they'd be like, you got this. If anyone can do it, you can do it. And that was like your family, your friends, or somebody like you were saying just went through the same situation. It's so important to ask for help. I've realized that a lot with business, and it's something they don't teach you, which is the most important asset of business, is asking others for favors and for help, because then people are willing to drop and say, yeah, this is what I did. This is what you could take from me and learn. And then what happens is you start reciprocating that. So then I get this information and it helps me in such a way, I want to go pass it on to other people. So I'm like, if someone came to me, Matt, and right now and said, Anthony, I want to start a gym. Like, what can I do? What are some foundations? I'd be like, listen, I got you. Let's do this together, and just give them everything I know to help. And it's just such a crazy phenomenon of human nature that we just know that when someone comes to us, we give back. And I love that about us as people, if that makes any sense.
100%, man. It's the quality of people you hang around with too. Because if you're hanging around with people that are going to drag you down, that are going to bring that, especially when it comes to business, brother, like the thing I realized was I had to, I'll never say eliminate people, but I will say spend a lot less time with certain people and start gaining more quality people that are going to help elevate you to that next level. And that is what the game's about, brother. Like, that's everything.
It's true. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. You want to be fit, hang out with 5 fit people.
Yep.
You want to be rich, hang out with 5 rich people. It's the same boat where you have to learn to put people on your back burner, like I've kind of done throughout my life, because they're just dragging you down, or maybe they don't have similar goals, or whatever the case may be. That's not what you aspire to be. Then you find those people that are as driven as you, and then you just start seeing you just pound through life, and you're able to accomplish so much more than you ever thought possible. But I want to go back to your story just a little bit. You get the diagnosis. It's a lot of emotions, I'm sure. And when did you ever feel like you're at that point, like, this is it, I'm not going to make it? And what did you do on top of that to kind of overcome that?
Yeah, 100%. So I'll kind of give you a good overview of like my whole journey here real quick, because we'll have to go a little bit further ahead to get to that point. But yes, there were plenty of times where I really did not think I was going to be making it. And it is very, very easy to fall into a victim mindset in life. When you feel like every time you take one step forward and then you have this adversity that knocks you 2 steps back, and you always constantly feel like you're having this dragging situation where you're like, I'm trying to push forward, but it just seems like every time there's another thing and another thing, and you want to just have this victim mindset, this why me mentality. You have to keep persevering. And what I've told myself is this, like, every single day, what is just one thing that's going to help progress me forward in life? It's like a compound effect, man. Like, literally, if you can say, what is one thing that's going to help progress me forward in life, that compound effect is going to bring momentum, it's going to bring confidence, and it's going to ultimately create rituals and routines into your life that are positive, that is going to help you get to where you need to be. But for me, I ended up going through chemotherapy, which was really intense. I lost my hair. I was extremely fatigued all the time. I lost a lot of weight. I was about 185 to 190 pounds. I lost about 40 to 45 pounds during chemotherapy. But where the real complications came to play, where this is where I didn't know I was going to make it, was after chemotherapy, I sat down with my oncologist, and he basically said, Matt, we have good and bad news. Good news is your 11-centimeter tumor has shrunk to 3 centimeters. The cancer or the chemotherapy is working. The bad news is it's wrapped around what's called your inferior vena cava. Now, your inferior vena cava is basically a central vein, from my understanding, that goes from the bottom of your upper body to your heart. And they ended up having to do a 12-hour surgery to remove the vein, to remove the tumor, and remove the rest of the cancer in my body. When they did so, my body went into what's called compartment syndrome. It basically, my kidneys, my liver completely shut down. I went to a 2-week non-induced coma. When I came out of my initial first surgery, I had massive swelling in my stomach, so I had to drain 7 liters of fluid out of my stomach. I had a cone drilled in my head to relieve potential brain swelling. And they thought I was going to be on dialysis the rest of my life if I even came out of this coma. And for me, I ended up being in the ICU room for over 40 days. I ended up being in the hospital for over 53 days. When I was released from my coma, 1 week out of my coma, they went to go take out one of the catheters. So I had a catheter in my neck and in my chest. They went to go take out one of the catheters. I had what's called an air rhythm heartbeat. I went to cardiac arrest. They had to do 8 minutes of CPR on me. I ended up going back into another 1-week coma. I ended up having 3 additional surgeries on my stomach in a matter of 20 days, having to completely relearn to walk again. From laying in my bed to taking my very first steps took about 3 weeks. And about 3 days before I was about to get out of the hospital, they went to go wheel me to my final recovery area, and my stitches that was in my stomach, which I had massive stitches from my left hip to my right hip, bursted open. They had to rush me to a 5th major surgery in 30 days, and I had what was called an open wound surgery, which was basically they had to leave my skin open and put a football-sized mesh over my stomach. That took me another 2 to 3 weeks for not to heal. It took me an entire year for that to heal, but 2 or 3 weeks through ICU unit again, through the hospital, everything. And finally, like I was saying, after 53 days in the hospital, I was finally released. But to tell you that I had multiple near-death experiences and was ready to give up on myself is an understatement. For me, coming out of that coma and learning to walk again was probably one of the most challenging moments of my entire life. It was a daily battle. They had to have 4 nurses every day, literally have this massive brace around me, help me lift me up, and I had to learn to literally try and take a step. And I couldn't do that for a good 2 weeks. I almost felt like I was like paralyzed almost. And I was so ready to give up on myself, but I would say the biggest thing that helped push me forward was I knew that this was more than myself. This journey was more than just me. I had so many other people that I was fighting for, that I loved, that I cared about, that my why, I don't necessarily love the, follow your why, whatever. But for me, in this case, this is a good example. I had such a bigger purpose and meaning attached to my recovery than just myself. And I think that's what a lot of people should think of when they're in this health journey. You losing that extra 20, 30, 40 pounds, eating the right foods, getting the right sleep in your life is not just about you. Yes, it is about you to live longer, a happier life, but it's also think about your kids, think about your grandkids, think about people you love in your life and the quality of time you will get to spend with them by taking care of your body, by taking care of yourself. And that was the shift I had to make. And it's a famous saying by a guy named Ed Milet. He's an entrepreneur. I love, if you haven't heard of him, go check him out. His famous saying is everything in life happens for you, not to you. And what that basically means is if you start looking at everything in life as why is this happening to you, all you're going to do is make excuses, have that victim mindset, and it will get you nowhere in life. But if you start asking, why is this situation happening for me? It's unfair. There's a point in time where we need to grieve, but there's also a point in time of what is the lesson attached behind this challenge that I am facing in the moment that is not only going to help me grow as an individual, but then can also use all the lessons I've had to maybe help somebody else down the road. And that was the mindset I had to have was, how is this a lesson to just at first help me progress forward in life? And it doesn't just happen overnight. It's not like something that's just, trust me, I've had multiple times where I've had to fight through a lot of negativity, but that is kind of the long/short answer of everything I had to go through. And when I came out of that hospital, I had dropped down from the 185-pound personal trainer to 110 pounds in a matter of 8 months. And I knew there was a long journey ahead of me after that.
What a freaking story. And I have so many questions that are just bubbling, and I definitely want to ask you, but we're actually going to grab a quick word from our sponsor, guys, and then bear with us. We'll be right back. For us, we know what it's like to feel unhealthy, depressed, and downright defeated. We want to show others there is a right way, and through fitness, you can do anything you set your mind to. Fitness can give you that motivation, confidence, energy you need to bridge that mental gap and prevent you from missing important life events. We understand it's about feeling better, living longer, and being good examples for our kids. We understand this because we live it. And for us, that's the redefined difference. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Health and Fitness Redefined. We have Matt here. He just laid down an incredible journey, 53 days in the hospital, in and out of 2 comas, more surgeries than I think I can count on my hands, all just in one time span. And I couldn't even imagine just kind of being in your shoes. And it takes a special person to really have all that thrown at them and still be able to push forward, because you hear all the time, and it's something you were mentioning about with Ed Milet, who I do personally am a huge fan of. Why did this happen for me instead of why did this happen to me? Where people complain about, oh, my dog looked at me wrong, it's a horrible day. And then someone like you comes out and be like, well, look what I kind of went through, and I'm still trying to live my best life and still helping others. So your problem now has become insignificant and kind of makes you feel bad for better move on. and learn a lesson there, basically. So learning lessons, I want to go into your coma because it's something I've never talked to anyone about before. And I have so many questions about being in a coma, but I'm going to ask the big one. What is that like? Do you hear things around you and you kind of just wake up and feel like you just blinked? Or someone told you, hey, Matt, it's been 2 weeks. What was that experience like?
Yeah, no, great question. I do want to start with saying that everybody's problems are different, and like, you know, I don't want to like diminish anybody's problems here because I know everyone's fighting like crazy stuff in their life, and everyone should, you know, you all have your own challenges in life, and I don't want to belittle any of it, but 100%, man. Like, for me, when I was in my coma, yeah. So a lot of people have other different stories. So everyone has their own uniqueness. I'm gonna share. So if it's okay, and you know, I am Christian. I don't push faith on anybody, but like for me as a Christian, faith has brought me through a lot in life, and you know, I'll share a little quick story of faith if that's okay. Just coming out of my coma, but I don't push it on anybody. So
sure.
For me, before that, what a coma was like for me was I remembered, like, it was super weird. It's like a long extended dream, a very long extended dream. And whether I was coming in and out of consciousness, like subconsciously, like without like people knowing, I remember seeing certain nurses and certain doctors, and I'd have certain people that were like really close to me, like my family, Lauren, and certain friends and stuff, like in this dream. And it was almost like this never ending dream where I was just like constantly running away from, like, it was really weird. This is the best way I can explain it. I can't lie about it. I was like running away from these nurses because I just didn't know what was going on. And all of a sudden, like right before I woke up, I was in this room. I was in this big room, and it was everybody that I really cared about and loved in life that was like still on this earth. And I remember them just kind of cheering me on. Like, they're like, you can wake up now, Matt. And they were just clapping and cheering me on. And that was the last thing I could remember. I remember waking up. Now, on the other side of it, my mom, being very faith-based, held 3 prayer services, local prayer services near me, where apparently hundreds of people would pray for me at the church, and thousands were praying around the world. This is what I was told. And you had my parents and Lauren every day in the ICU room. They really didn't leave. Lauren would come up to me every day. She'd hold my hand and she would just pray for healing, pray for me to wake up. On the very last prayer service, day 3 of the prayer service, right in the middle when everyone was praying, thousands praying around the world, hundreds praying in the church, and Lauren holding my hand praying, was the moment that I woke up. And she rushed over to the nurses. They didn't even believe her. They rushed over to the surgeon. He had to come in and diagnose that I was starting to wake up. And for me, that was almost like God's way of saying, Matt, this isn't the end of your journey. This is a brand new chapter and brand new start to a new life that I have ahead of you. And I want to just say this for somebody else who may feel like they're in rock bottom right now. I want you to know that rock bottom is not necessarily a bad place to be. Sometimes it is actually the start of a brand new chapter of your life. And I want you to start looking at it that way. If you feel like you've been in the lowest point in your life right now, that maybe this is the start of something brand new, because guess what? The only place you can go from rock bottom is up. So that was me in that case. And in coming out of that coma, it wasn't like, oh, I knew what was going on and everything. I just remember seeing like lights, and I would come in and out of like consciousness, things like that. But yeah, man, that's the best way I can describe my coma. It was a long dream. I remember vividly being in a room with people and like telling me it's time to wake up, and it was people I loved, and that was the last thing I could really remember.
What a story. It's so interesting just how it happened, and you had all those people there for you. And I loved what you said, where it was adversity is more of a new beginning, because it's so true. I feel like you do, bad things happen to us because that gives us a chance to learn and then help others. And I really do like that a lot. I want to move forward to you coming out of the hospital. And I know you've already experienced a lot at this point. You said you were down 70 pounds, which is a lot to really realize, like, you have to bring this all back, and you look like you've gained it all back at this point. So
yeah,
what was that journey like? What programs and what activities, even whether it's just mental activities, did you implement in your day-to-day life to help you get back to where you are today?
Yep. Love it. I actually just posted a short thing in, so I have a cancer Facebook group, and incredible group. It's got around 6,000 members in it, all patient survivors. And I actually just posted it today about this section of my journey. And what I was talking about to them was, you are one decision away from changing the direction of your life. And what I meant by that was, when I came out of that hospital, I didn't have the accountability of nurses. I didn't have the accountability of my doctors anymore, because I was kind of on my own. And like we were talking about, the part of these journeys, you are on your own and you have to take action in order to heal yourself. Well, for me, I stopped, and I was just so frustrated, because I was like, I was this healthy person, literally a year ago, the healthiest I'd ever been in my life. And now I had body image issues. I was mentally drained. I just felt like life was literally out to get me. And I stopped doing the rehab I needed to do. I stopped doing the exercises. Well, a week later, I found myself back into the hospital with a fever of 104 degrees. My standing heart rate alone was 151 beats a minute. My blood pressure was like through the roof. And I had to stay in the hospital for an entire week. And coming out of that, me and Lauren had probably one of the most important discussions of my life. And basically the discussion came to is, if Matt, you do not make a change in your life today, you may not be here next month. And there's a good chance I wasn't. It was literally life or death, experience at this point. So for me, when I say you're one decision away from changing the entire direction of your life, I literally shifted my mindset to the world's out to get me, to how can I literally change the world by really changing my life to start. And it started with literally one step a day. And this is exactly how I got started on my health journey. I literally picked up a 5-pound dumbbell and I started doing bicep curls one day. Just started doing bicep curls. I started getting back to my roots, man. Like literally, I couldn't do anything else. I couldn't lift my hands over my head, anything like that. Next thing I did, I would literally set up. This is when I was learning to walk. I'd have 2 lawn chairs. I'd have my parents set a lawn chair at the end of the driveway, and I'd have my lawn chair at the front of the driveway. And I would sit up, walk over to that lawn chair, sit down, give myself 30 seconds to a minute break, and then come back. And I'd do that every day, and I'd move that lawn chair just a little bit further, just a little bit further. And you know what it was I started keeping the promises I make to myself. And what I mean by that is, when you literally say you're going to go and do something, you make sure that every single day you are keeping that promise to yourself and getting it done. It's so easy to say, oh, I don't have the time, or I'm just too tired, or all of these things. No, it's because you aren't making it a priority in your life. And you want to know why you're not getting to where you want to be, is because you have these goals and you're not actually taking action to get to them. You're doing everything else to go around, to be comfortable, to be in a complacent situation. And complacency is where you are basically never going to get anywhere in life. So that's what I had to do, is take one thing every day and say, how can I progress myself? And I call it winning the day. There's another person, you may know who I'm talking about. His name's Andy Frisella. He and Ed Milet partner with each other. They're in like this business group. I learned a lot of these mindsets from these guys. And Andy Frisella says it's called winning the day. And what you do is, when you start winning multiple days, eventually you start winning the week. When you start winning the week and you start winning multiple weeks, eventually you start winning the month. And after you start winning months, after a year from now, you are going to be a totally different, more powerful, more courageous person than you've ever been, because you kept the promises you made to yourself and you said, I'm going to focus on winning the day. I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself. I'm just going to focus on one thing at a time. So that's what I would say to somebody starting their health journey. So you don't have to cold turkey everything to start with. Start with one thing. Maybe it's eliminating something from your unhealthy nutrition plan, or that you've been, that you haven't been eating well. Or maybe it's like you're drinking 6 cans of pop a day. Start by only drinking 4 cans of pop. Start slowly eliminating that. You're going to start feeling a little bit better. Instead of saying, oh, I need to have a 5-day workout plan, start with just working out for 20 to 30 minutes, 2 to 3 times a day. See how that feels. Start getting momentum into your life, and then everything will start to come into play. So that's how I kind of rebuilt my life.
I know this is going way back to kind of where you mentioned in the beginning, but I think it's so important. I just want you to break it down a little bit more and give maybe advice about how to do it, which is keeping promises to yourself. I think that out of all of it is something we could all learn a lesson from, is accomplishing those things that we say we're going to do and the importance it has. And so maybe if you could talk about how it adds to your life, and then what could happen if you start letting little things go of little promises. Oh, that wasn't a big deal. I said I was going to put my laundry away. I didn't today. I'll do it tomorrow. Yeah. Talk to us a little bit more about how that can really impact your life.
That's great. I love that. It's the little things. Anyone who's done sports in their life, you've always heard that don't eliminate the little things in your life. Like when you're playing a sport, a lot of the times it's the little things that actually get you to where you want to be in life. And that's what I would say too in your health and fitness journey is when you are on this path, you are going to have days where you mess up. I have it all the time. I do what's called a power list, and basically I write 5 things down. I have 5 tasks throughout the day. That's all I do. I don't do more than that. Sometimes I'll even do a little bit less. I'll do 3 to 5 tasks, and I do my absolute best to get them done. But there's days I don't. So number one thing I would tell people is, I would say the number one reason I see people give up is they make a mistake or they let themselves go for a day or two and it turns into weeks and it turns into months. So don't be, you are your biggest critic, and that's a good thing, but it can also be a negative thing as well. So don't be so hard on yourself when you do mess up. So if you don't necessarily get the thing done throughout the day, just pick yourself back up tomorrow and say, okay, what do I need to do to get myself back on track? So that is one thing you can start to do to not feel overcomplicated. Another thing is, don't put too much on your plate. Just like what I said, don't do a million tasks at once. Start with 1 or 2, actually. That's all you need to do. And if you can literally compound 1 or 2 things every single day, you will be absolutely amazed at where you can do it. So I would rather work out 20 minutes a day for 5 days a week than I would for 2.5 hours 1 day a week. You're going to get way better results. You're going to see way better progress. It's because you're using this compound effect of consistency and momentum. Not only will you see the physical results, you'll see the mindset results as well as of the repetition that you're constantly doing. So that's what I mean by keeping the promises to yourself is, number one, don't get too hard on yourself when you kind of mess up. Just get right back on track and say, what can I do tomorrow? Number 2, don't overcomplicate the process. Don't try to do a million things at once, because then you'll get nothing done. When you try to do, everyone can say, can realize that when you do too many things, you actually get 0 done. So 1 or 2 big things that can really help progress you forward in life. And just stay consistent. Consistency is key. That is how you will achieve almost anything in life. So,
yeah, it's definitely true. Just keeping yourself accountable, doing this thing. I personally know from experience, if I get too much on my plate, which is definitely my biggest flaw, I end up going, okay, now I can't do anything. You just kind of feel like your brain just starts shutting down. So it's so funny because my fiance and I kind of think differently in that aspect, but I'm like, all right, I'm not going to get like past tomorrow. Tomorrow I have this event. I'm not planning anything past it. I'm not thinking about it. I'm going to get this done, accomplish it. And then after that, I can move on to the next topic. Because if I start thinking ahead where it stresses me out, it's going to alter everything else and make them 10% worse. And if everything becomes 10% worse over the course of a year, if I do 10 events a year, that's already 100% worse of one event that I could have done. So it's just something to keep in mind. And the compounding of even steps, where if I did 100 extra steps a day, which is seemingly nothing, and I did that over the course of a year, that's 365 times 100. That's already 36,000 extra steps, which is 2 extra days roughly of free steps that you got in throughout the year that no one else did. Yeah. Little things.
It is. It's the little things that count. I think you're spot on, brother. Like, honestly, I would say there's nothing wrong with having big goals, but I say have big, massive goals in your life, but you got to realize that you have to be patient in the macro of that journey and really concentrate on being present in that moment. A lot of this is like what I usually think is if we worry about the past, it causes depression. If we constantly worry about the future, it causes anxiety. So instead, learn from the past and plan for the future by being present. And that's kind of like my saying of like helping you stay grounded and help you push forward. It's great to have massive, big goals and dreams in life, and you should have those, but realize it takes time to get there. And that's why I always tell people, I'm like, don't live on a scale. Like when people like, I want to lose like 30 pounds. I'm like, most of the time you should not be weighing yourself every day, because you are going to just have this mental and emotional battle. For me, I can do it because I know that I don't care. If I see something, I just know that if I gain a pound that day, it could be water weight, it could be that. But for other people, it might completely destroy them. So that's what I would tell people is go by how you feel. And if you can, just stay focused on that day, just like, what Anthony was saying.
Yeah, I want to kind of tie this all back to health and fitness and ask you a personal question, which would be, do you feel personally that your habits that you created pre-cancer, I mean, you're being a trainer, getting involved in the gym, do you think that helped you along your journey being in the hospital? And then on top of that, is there any kind of specific advice when it comes specifically to fitness that you would offer to people that are A, going through chemotherapy, and B, what maybe more specifics they should focus on afterwards?
Yeah. 100% it helped me. And that's why I tell people start today. The best time you can start is right now, because you don't know what could happen in your life. I'm not saying you're going to get diagnosed with cancer. I pray to God you never do. But you want to know another thing? Literally this past year, I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes as well, just out of nowhere. And that was another thing. If I wasn't disciplined enough with my nutrition and my fitness, it would have been a massive lifestyle change. Now it's really not that big of a lifestyle change because I've kept that routine and I've kept my healthy lifestyle in check. So that's why I always tell people, I say, literally, you could have $1 billion in your bank account, but if you get extremely sick, guess what? That $1 billion, like it can, my point is you're not focused on the money. You're not focused on other things. You're focused on your health. So what I'm trying to say is take care of your health first, get into a healthy mindset, because when the time does come to where you may need to recover from something, you're going to have the knowledge, because the best investment you can ever make is in yourself. So you're going to have the knowledge of what you need to do to recover yourself mentally, recover yourself physically, and recover yourself emotionally. So for me, anybody going through chemotherapy, my best advice would 100% be take it day by day, because there's going to be days where you literally cannot do anything. Like you're going to be so beat up and so down that you need to give yourself rest. So give yourself permission to rest on those days. But the days that you feel good, make sure that you are getting up and you are doing something to have some type of a movement in your life, whether it's going for a walk, whether you have the strength to go and get a workout in, whatever it is, but get some type of movement in and make sure you're eating quality foods and drinking lots of water. Tons of water, because water is what helps flush out all of the toxins that the chemo is putting into your body. And you want to get that in and out of your system as quickly as possible, because you don't want that keeping in there. It's going to cause a lot of nausea. It's going to cause even more side effects. So just lots of water, lots of sleep. And on the days you feel good, take advantage of those days. Now, I forget the other question.
Was there anything particular as far as like cardio, weights that you felt was more beneficial?
I think
the journey.
Yeah, for me, weight training was extreme. I think weight training is essential for anybody as you get older, especially. But for me, in that case, I mean, I was literally skin and bone. Like if I could show you pictures, I was literally skin and bone at that part. And if I didn't do any weight training, no cardio would have really helped me, because I mean, it would have helped, but it wouldn't have given me the strength I needed to do those other activities. So I always say strength training is so important, and don't ever underestimate cardio as well, because it's good for your heart health and it's good for a lot of other areas of your life too. But strength training as you get older, especially your bones, your muscles, everything starts to slowly deteriorate into, just a lot weaker state. And if you're getting that strength training and if you're starting to do those lifting exercises, it will help so much to keep your body strong, to keep yourself active, and to allow you to do the things you want to do with your life. So stay active, make sure you do some weight training, and also, get in that cardio as well.
I love it, Matt. And we're going to start wrapping this up. So I'm going to ask the last two questions I ask everybody. If you were to summarize all of that, which was a lot, and there was a lot of lessons in this episode together, kind of put it together in 1 or 2 sentences for us.
What I would say in 1 or 2 sentences is I have a famous acronym, and it's called HOPE. It's from a guy named Jim Quick, and it's help one person every day. And what I get at is out of this whole thing is it's your adversity is your greatest tool to giving back to others. And don't ever underestimate the power of helping one person every day, because that will literally go into a snowball effect to helping other people with the knowledge you've given them.
I love that. And then the second question, probably the easiest one of all, is where people find you, get a hold of you, give us all the good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can follow me on all platforms. Instagram is MATTY_Ode, which is ODE. And then Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Matt Ode. If you're a cancer patient, survivor, or caregiver, follow me on Facebook, shoot me a direct message, and I can get you into my Facebook group, which is called Cancer Patient/Survivor, Taking Back Your Life from Cancer. We have around 6,000 members in the group. It is just filled with just love, support, and helping each other to whatever aspect of cancer you are currently going through. So that's where you can find me, and I'm happy to connect in any way possible.
I love that, guys. Definitely take advantage of that. Please, support is totally necessary. And I know Matt, just from talking to you now, is a great person. And I'm sure all the people in there are just willing to help you. So please go ahead and take advantage of that, guys. And thank you for joining us in this week's episode of Health Fitness Redefined. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button and join us next week as we dive deeper into this ever-changing field. And remember, fitness is a journey, not a destination. Until next time.